I believe churches are segregated still for many reasons. And I think one reason is that too few Christians are willing to make the appropriate negotiations for the sake of building up some from every tongue, tribe, people, and nation in the gospel. When you're talking about reconciliation, that requires people, often in power, to be willing to sacrifice some privileges. And if privileges are wrapped up into the identity of a person, then that means that there's something about that person that he or she must give up. And I think that's one reason why churches are segregated, is because whether those churches are predominantly white or black or whatever, not many Christians are willing to make the appropriate ethnic negotiations. I think a second reason is because of a misunderstanding of what the gospel says. I think in my view and in my work, I try to show that racial reconciliation can work itself out by means of multi-ethnic and multicultural churches, and that racial reconciliation is actually part of the gospel's demand. It is not an implication of the gospel. It is part of the gospel. So for example, if you read Ephesians, Paul says in Ephesians 1 that the gospel is the unification of all things in Christ. In Ephesians 2:11 through chapter 3, verse 8, Paul says that the gospel is to unify Jews and Gentiles into this one new man, and that Jews and Gentiles share equally in God's spiritual blessings that He promised for Israel. Now through Christ, Jews and Gentiles become this one new man and equally participate in these spiritual blessings. And I think many Christians don't understand that. They reduce reconciliation to a social issue. So one reason is not many Christians are willing to make the appropriate ethnic negotiations. And a second reason is that I think many Christians misunderstand the totality of the gospel. And then thirdly, there's much more that I could say, but thirdly, sin. Sin alienates sinners from God, and sin alienates sinners from one another. We don't naturally pursue God, and we don't naturally pursue one another. But in Christ Jesus, God has made a way for sinners to be reconciled to God through Christ and to each other through Christ. And I think those three things, at the very least, explain why certain Christians are not living in community with people from every tongue, tribe, people, and nation in multi-ethnic, multicultural churches.